All right, so as if you're driving down the road, we flag you in. This is going to be our initial point. So what we're going to do is we're going to have initial point of contact with the driver. It's going to be the first step. And I'm going to ask for his driver's license and medical card at that point. With that, I'm going to ask for the manifest, bill of lading, whatever you call it, shipping papers, and the registration for the truck. So I'm going to get that information from you. So
I just ate a big meal.
all right, so when I do this, as he's getting the rest of the information, I'm checking his medical card to see if he has any restrictions on here, in which he does. He has to wear corrective lenses. As you can see, he's got them on, so he's good to go. Your corrective lenses, your hearing aids are definitely going to get you jammed up. They're out of service violations, and you're done right then and there until you have them. Okay, so you're not going to be able to continue on. As you're coming in, the two things that we look for as the truck's approaching us, do you have your seatbelt on? Is everything working properly? Or are you talking on a cell phone? And you'd be amazed the amount of people that look at us and all of a sudden they realize they're on their cell phone and they throw it on the floor. When your kids do something bad at home and all of a sudden you realize that you're looking at them, they do the same thing. Drivers do the same thing. So
what if you don't have your physical card?
If you have a CDL license and your medical card has been downloaded to your driver's license, I can check it as long as my computer's working. If my computer is not working, you have to be able to provide it. Yeah, and when we run your driver's license to do the driver's license check, and the bottom of the thing that says where your driver's license is valid and all your restrictions, then it'll have the medical certificate attached to the bottom of it. Tells us whether it's good and what the expiration date is on it. He's going to give me his book. What I need is the registration out of here. I'm going to leaf through it, make sure I got everything. Registration, you have two options. You can either take it out of the binder, just snap it in and out, which I will tell you is a lot easier than trying to fish it in and out of this plastic every single time you need to get it out of there. So I'm going to have him take this out of here and then show me the bill of lading. So like I said, I'm not going to take anything that I don't absolutely need. The rest of that stuff I can see on the outside of the vehicle. I don't really need it for my purposes. Not right now anyway. All right, so I got the registration in hand. The insurance card's good. It's in there. Registration's good. All right, do you have any shipping papers for this load? All right. So on the shipping papers, that's all I'm going to take is the next delivery sheet. I know a lot of times you guys have multiple deliveries that are on here. I just need the one for this particular trip. So that's the one that I'm going to take, and then I'm going to give them everything else back. All right. So that's pretty much where I'm at now. You guys generally don't run logbooks. You're within your 150 air mile radius, which is good. So we're not going to have to go that route. If you were on one where you would need one, at this point I would check the logbook and go from there. So have you ever been through an inspection before? All right, so you have a good idea of what's going to happen. I'm going to start in the front of the vehicle. Right now I'm going to have you not start the vehicle, but turn the key on, turn all your lights on. All right, so now you got everything on. I'll start up in the front. My partner's in the back. We're going to check the lights. When I'm done with the lights in the front, I'm going to continue down the driver's side, around the back, and then up the other side. All right? Do you have any questions so far? Nope. All right, inspection's good. IFT is good. So when we get up to the front of the vehicle, what I'm looking for here is the lighting on the front of the vehicle to make sure everything's good. I take a quick look underneath, make sure there's no fluids leaking out underneath it. So right now, go ahead and shut your four-ways off. Turn signal, good. Turn signal, good. High beams, good. Hit the brake. All right, so he gave me the nod, everything's good in the back. So all the roof lights are working, cab lights, whatever you want to call them. Inspection's good. Everybody notice that there's two inspections on here? Okay. You have a PA once, so the truck's registered in Pennsylvania, which is required. You don't need to have two of them. You don't have to have the federal. The Pennsylvania's good. That's what they do it. Then that's the way it is. All right. Well, that's all right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to work my way down along the back. So all I'm going to have you do is just watch me in the mirror so you know where I'm at. I'm going to go around the back. As I come up the other side, you'll be able to see me in there. Okay? So when I get to here, now what I'm doing is I'm looking at load securement. I'm looking at any type of problems that you may have underneath as far as like framing. Well, I guess I'm getting ahead of myself. Go ahead and start it up for me and turn the wheels all the way to the left. Normally on an inspection I would leave the truck running, but since we're inside you're not going to be able to hear me. So When I get to here, I'm going to look underneath here and I'm checking the air lines to make sure there's no chafing, pitman arms to make sure that there's no fluid coming out of the gearbox and the pitman arm's not loose. I'm checking the springs that go down through. So in a lot of these trucks, I'll just pop down and take a look at them. Brakes are all good. They look like they're brand new. All the movable parts are secure and there's no chafing of the airline. That's all I'm doing basically when I'm at that point. Make sure that all the parts don't have excessive wear on them. There's no chafing on the hoses. Ball joints and everything aren't leaking. Everything's proper. There's no cracks in the springs. So now that I get to here, I'm looking for framework. I'll look through here and make sure where all your connections are. I'm going to shine my light on here and make sure that the frame doesn't crack. With these particular trucks, when you get that loaded on there, what happens is you get a lot of shifting if you have everything loaded on one. So like you have a load for one, the first delivery is on the right, the second one's on the left. Once you deliver that first one, now your weight's, you're not going to readjust it, your weight's on one side. So now you get a lot of shifting that way. So every once in a while you'll get a crack where that's bolted through. So you want to check that as you do your walk around, make sure that there's no cracks there. Look good. Good. Tags up. For you guys that are going to do your pre-trip inspections, I don't know how this particular truck works. Sometimes when they're on, these will stay up. Sometimes they'll go down. Be very cautious on these tag axles because if you pop down underneath there to take a look, you gotta make sure everything's set because if this tag axle drops, that's an awful lot of weight and you're not going to survive that. So stay out from underneath it if it's up in the air. Airlines look good. Spring eyes look good. Spring looks good. Mounting brackets are good. Tires look good. No cracks in the wheels. Lug nuts look secure. I'm doing the same thing for each axle. Okay, so as far as our load goes, I'm looking at a couple different things here. Scotty, come help me measure this one. All right, so you got a couple long boards that are here. So we'll go over a couple of securement issues. 5, 8.
20 foot.
12. So it'd be what? 20 feet. So you're at 20 feet. So you have to have 2 within the first 10 foot. Anytime you secure something, you have to have 2 straps within the first 10 foot unless it's butted up tight against the header board. 10 foot's here. So you would have to have 2 securement devices forward of my finger, all right, to keep this 20-foot one secure. And then you need one for every additional 10 foot after that. So that one there would need another strap. Or bump it forward an inch, so it butts up against here, and then the 3 will cover it. So, but if you have something where you can get your hand in there where it's not secure, it's not butted up against. All right, and what that's for is to keep that forward movement. That 1 inch probably, you guys have all driven long enough to know that 1 inch isn't going to make a difference, but that's what the regulations say it has to be. So that's where we're at. Work our way down through. So when we get to the back, I'm checking the registration, make sure the registration plate's correct. He already checked the lights for me, so we don't really need to do anything here. We know that they're working properly. So I'm just going to work my way around this side of the truck and back up the front. When I get to this side of the vehicle, there's a box right here in the center. It'd be the one closest to me with the yellow label on it. Can everybody see that one? All right. Notice that there's no straps that are holding that box at all. So that's unsecured, that load's unsecured. So at that point, when you have something like this, you have to have down pressure on every piece of item there is, or it has to be secured with its own strapping. All right, so that particular one there, depending on where you're going, may not move at all, but if you have some trip to go to, it's eventually going to keep, that acceleration, start-stop acceleration is going to keep wiggling that till it works to the least resistance, so it's going to come out of there eventually, depending on the trip. If you're running from here to into Clearfield, it's probably not going to go anywhere, but unfortunately, that's the way it is. So when I get to this side, I'm doing exactly the same thing I did on the other side. Good. All right, so then I'm done with the walk around, pointed out the violations that I saw. And I'm gonna come back around to the driver again. All right, so when I get back to the driver, now I'm gonna check the fire extinguishers. Have them charged up, good. Triangles someplace? Triangles are right there, they're good. All right, go ahead and turn it back on again. So at this point, we're gonna have them pump the brakes down so I can make sure all the warning gauges work properly. All right, so that's pretty much the end of the inspection as far as what the driver and the truck are involved. And now what's gonna happen is I'm gonna go back and do the report to my vehicle, so I'll have to do the regular report itself, but then we'll need to check with FMCSA and go over those numbers that Lori went over with you earlier, what your safety rating is, past inspections, prior problems with this particular truck. And I don't know if you guys know this or not, but anytime we punch your information into our computer system, anytime in the last 24 months, it pulls up every inspection that you, the company, or this truck has been through. And then I can click on those inspections and see if there's been violations on it. So if you're having trouble with something like there's a shock that's bad, and then I'll know whether or not the company has had it repaired. So if I keep getting that same truck and it's got the same problems, you know, then obviously that'll cut down. Yes, sir.